Okay, Dr. Mindy here, and I am with you all for my Tuesday lives, and excited to be here. And if you're new to Tuesday lives, just let me know. Put it in the chat. I can see the chat right here. I'm going to start off with a study that is really freaking cool when it comes to fasting, menopause, and the brain. And after that, I will open it up for questions. So if you have a question, leave it in the comments, and I have a team that will pull it up, and I'll answer them, and we'll connect together here. So let's start off with sort of a big picture on menopause, ketones, and the brain that I'm excited to bring to you. So when I first started teaching fasting in my clinic, one of the things that I really noticed is that postmenopausal women did extremely well with fasting. So it was like, not only could they fast really well, not only did they lose a lot of weight, but they really started to get to a place where their mental clarity was going through the roof. Now, of course, in this kind of situation, I was like, well, it's a ketone. It's because the ketones, when are burning fat, and then they're going up into the brain, and the brain has two fuel sources. It has glucose and it has ketones as a fuel source. So, okay, that would make sense. Like all of a sudden you're giving the brain 50% of its fuel source. Kind of like a hybrid car. Like our brains work, both men and women work off of both, glucose and ketones, just like gas and electricity. And so then I had a conversation with Lisa Mosconi on my podcast, who wrote a book called The Menopause Brain. And one of the things that she said to me was postmenopausal women need to understand that their brains become less efficient at using glucose. Now, let's think this through. This is just like why we gain weight, because when we move into our post-reproductive years, what ends up happening is our body doesn't know how to use glucose. It becomes more insulin resistant without us doing anything. We didn't change our diet. We didn't change our workout. It's the drop in estrogen. All of a sudden, the body's like, I don't know how to process glucose. And so Lisa was saying to me, so the brain becomes foggy. The brain can get really down the path of Alzheimer's. The brain can go more towards dementia, because the fuel source that it used for so much of its life, it can no longer use. Now, I want to pause there for a moment, because this is really interesting, and just walk through this thought process with me. So first, I said to her, and you can go hear that, just type in, go to the Resetter podcast, type in Lisa Mosconi, Dr. Mindy Pelz, and you'll find us. You can go to YouTube, you can go to iTunes, wherever, Spotify, wherever you go. And you can hear the whole thing. So I said to her, well, if the brain can't use glucose, and too much glucose is causing memory problems and dementia and potentially leading towards Alzheimer's, we have another fuel source, and it's called the ketogenic energy system. Is it possible that maybe what is supposed to happen is a woman is supposed to rely more on ketones when she goes into those postmenopausal years? And Lisa sat there and she said, yeah, that sounds about right. And she goes, I have heard from my friends who are going through the menopausal process that if they either fast or they do the ketogenic diet, that they really notice their brain power coming back online. And I said, well, so do we have any research on how the postmenopausal woman reacts to ketones? And she's like, we don't. And I said, well, could you do some research? You're the female brain researcher. Can't you do that? And she laughed and she's like, well, I have a bunch of other things I'm doing. So that was in like March of 2023, if I'm guessing right. And then all of a sudden, Lisa went on a marketing campaign with her book saying that the reason women are getting Alzheimer's and dementia is because they didn't get access to hormone replacement therapy. Now listen, walk this through with me. I'm coming to your questions, but this is so huge what I'm about to tell you that I do not want you to miss it. And so all of a sudden, the whole menopause conversation took a turn because Lisa's the primary female brain researcher. And they were like, oh, that's why dementia and Alzheimer's is happening, because we read the HRT study wrong. So we just need to get everybody on HRT so that their brain comes back. And I was like watching this and I was thinking, but wait, what about the ketone? If it can't use glucose, if the brain can't use glucose, could it use ketones? She said she thought that was a good idea, but now she's off promoting HRT. Like there was a disconnect in my brain of like, I don't understand why we're not promoting the ketone. Then we went into a phase where all of a sudden Stacy Sims, and I love Stacy and I think her work is phenomenal, started going on all kinds of podcasts saying that menopausal women shouldn't fast. But what she was saying is active menopausal women shouldn't fast. And when I brought her onto my podcast, one of the things that she said is if you're going to go lift weights, if you're going to go do a hard workout, you may not want to be fasting in the morning before those workouts. And she went on, you guys can listen to this interview too. We just reposted it on the Resetter podcast. It's here on YouTube. It's also available on all the other platforms. But basically she said in the morning when you wake up, you need to activate the hypothalamus and so that it starts to produce hormones. And the way you do that is through food. Okay, follow me. I hope you're catching this. So I said to her, well, okay, well then, you know, what kind of food do I need to eat in the morning? And here is what she said to me. She said, I have protein and cream and MCT oil in my coffee every morning so that I load up my coffee. And that is part of a meal for me in the morning when I first get up before I go and work out. And then after I work out, this is Stacy Sims saying this, after I work out, then I break my, I eat a high protein meal. And my brain's like, yeah, I agree. Like you could load up on MCT oil, you could load up on cream and collagen in your coffee, and you could still be in a fat burning place, still making ketones, still giving the brain a fuel source that it desperately needs when you go through menopause. So please understand, I have been out there fighting this battle, trying to say, hello, everybody, the post-menopausal brain, the brain going through menopause, the woman's brain after 40, as it rewires itself, it needs ketones. And what's been reflected back at me is, oh, I don't know, Stacy Sims said this, she went on Mel Robbins and said that. And I'm like, no, I promise you this, I will die on this sword if I have to. So then 2 weeks ago, I went on the Neuro Experience, a podcast that is by a beautiful doctor. Louisa is her first name. And she's a neurosurgeon. And she tells me that when the brain rewires itself during menopause, we lose a major part of our white matter. I tried to look it up before I came on here to give you the specifics, but I don't have that number. But let's say we lose 10% of our white matter gets pruned away. And that I've explained, and this is what I did in Age Like a Girl, is really show you that those neurons get pruned away so new neurons can form. It's a rewiring so that you can be a better leader. This is all what this is about, so that you can be a better leader, whether you lead yourself or you lead a community. There is something that is happening. And what Louisa told me was, well, did you know when the white matter in the brain starts to break down, it's called catabolism, that the byproduct of that catabolic reaction is a ketone. I was like, what? The brain, let me rephrase this. The brain, as it goes through menopause, gets rid of a large chunk of white matter. And in that reaction of breaking down white matter, it makes ketones so that it can protect the brain through this stressful experience, and it can energize the brain as it rewires itself. The brain naturally does that on its own. Can anybody see how miraculous that is? I'm like, that's it. That's why every time I would go to my patients who were postmenopausal and I would teach them to fast, they were like, it was miraculous, because I was teaching them how to accelerate the influx of ketones, which is what the brain craves. It naturally makes it. It naturally craves it. The door out of brain fog, irritability, rage is the ketone. So then I had to go find the science, because I didn't want to just take everybody's word for it. I needed the science, and I found it. And here's what I want to tell you. There are 3 articles and that I have synthesized together. And here's where they are. The first one is basically saying that, this is Mosconi's work, that menopause is associated with measurable changes in brain structure. Okay. So this was gray matter. So she focused on gray matter, not white matter. The second study I found was published in 2015. And the title of this study is "The Ketone Byproduct Idea Maps Best to White Matter, Myelin Lipid Catabolism, Not Gray Matter." Okay, so white matter is breaking down. And here's what it says. That this study says that it proposes that I'll try to use the simple words, breakdown of these myelin lipids. Myelin is the protective sheath over neurons, can generate ketone bodies as an adaptive response when brain energy metabolism is stressed. The study went on to say that the brain may mount a stress starvation response, and the auxiliary fuels can be derived by catabolizing white matter and creating a byproduct to increase during perimenopause that converts fatty acids into ketone bodies. Okay, I understand you guys don't read science all the time. I know some of you are science hounds. I will put these studies in here, but here's what I want you to know. If your brain breaks down parts of itself and makes a ketone, that is how your brain is telling you, I need more ketones. That is the preferred source for the brain. It naturally makes it in the breakdown. It knows that you're going to become more insulin resistant. The brain knows you need to rely on the second fuel source called a ketone. So what if we gave it what it needed? There are 2 ways your body makes ketones from the inside. The first is what I've been teaching you all forever, which is you go into a fasted state and the body will trigger that the blood sugar isn't going up. And so it will tell the liver, break fat down so we can make a ketone to keep this system energized. So the liver responds to a decrease in glucose so that it can make a ketone to keep the brain energized. But there is a second place that the brain can make, or the body can make ketones, which is in the astrocytes of white matter. And when the brain starts to break itself down during menopause, your brain actually makes ketones, because you are brilliant. Your body was designed perfectly, and it knows exactly what it wants. And what it wants is ketones. So I just found that study last week. I want to point out, and I just had that conversation with Louisa on the neuro experience. You can go, and my team might put this in here, but in the neuro experience, you can go listen to that. It was an incredible conversation with me and this beautiful neurosurgeon. And then I want to point out, those of you that have Age Like a Girl, I put in Age Like a Girl on page 117, all the research I found on ketones for the brain. And what I found was that ketones are neuroprotective. Ketones stimulate all of these neurotransmitters. Ketones provide protection. That's why the brain makes it on its own. Do you get how profound this is? So it's not new science, but it's new to me, and it confirms what I have been on the quest to understand and to get out into the world. And when we hijacked the menopause conversation with the conversation of HRT, we all of a sudden lost the fact that we can actually help our brains out by tacking on fasting windows. So that if you're doing 15 hours a day and you don't have a cycle anymore, you're going to be getting a good dose of ketones. If you have a lot of brain fog, you might want to do a 24-hour fast every day, so you give your body 24 hours of ketones. If you're in really bad shape, you might want to go into a 3-day water fast. Give your brain the preferred fuel source. It's trying to make it on its own. Why don't we help it out? Please tell me you're seeing the beauty of this. So anyways, that's my rant for today. I will answer questions, but I'm just really excited. Anytime we can understand what the body naturally does on its own, we have the ability to mimic our lifestyle or match our lifestyle to that so that it can start to facilitate what's naturally happening. This is why so many of you lost weight with fasting, because all I did with Fast Like a Girl is bring forward a natural biological process that we had forgotten. And that natural biological process is called ketosis. And when you switch over into the ketogenic energy system and you put yourself in a state of ketosis, what you're doing is you're telling your liver, burn fat, make me a ketone. There's no fuel coming in. And this is why so many people lost weight. And the next level to that now is that burn fat to make a ketone so my brain can function right, because that breakdown may not be giving you enough. Those astrocytes might not be giving you enough ketones. Please tell me you understand that, because it's so, so important. Okay. I'm way off sync on here by like minutes. So you might have to read the question to me.
Bummer. Okay. So Travel Art, what's your view towards fasting when pregnant and when breastfeeding? And she said later that she's fasting for 18 hours a day.
Okay. So here we go. What's the fasting for pregnancy and nursing? Okay. First off, if you're pregnant, no. This is not your tool. Please don't fast while you're pregnant. You need to eat. There are other things you can do that will be incredible for your baby and will be incredible for you. And I used to always tell my patients that we want to beef up your microbiome. So you need to be eating enough protein, and I would really be eating enough vegetables, fiber. I would get a lot of probiotic and prebiotic foods in. I map those out all and Eat Like a Girl, but focus on your microbiome. Don't focus on fasting. When I promise you, when you get to the other side, I have 2 kids. I know what it's like to feel like you're gaining weight, but that you're supposed to gain weight. And so when you get to the other side, then know that you can come back to fasting and it's going to help you drop weight fast, but no to fasting during pregnancy. Okay. Breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is a maybe. Please do not fast more than 17 hours, because at 17 hours, you are going to stimulate autophagy. And when you stimulate autophagy, you can also stimulate something called apoptosis. And apoptosis is cellular death. And cellular death is where the inside of the cell starts to realize that there's toxins, there's bacteria, there's viruses inside the cell, and the cell is a damaged cell. And so it kills the cell and it gets it out of your system. And one of the places it will go is into your breast milk. So breast milk can act as a toxic storage for anything breaking down in your body. So don't go more than 17 hours. And then when you eat and you're nursing, please eat. Please eat. This is not a time. This is your, I think that, and I'm not saying that this is Travelvert's situation, but I think for a lot of us, when we become pregnant, we don't like feeling thicker, and we just want to go back to where we were. But your body is a different animal now. Your body is building a baby, and the rules of building a baby are gain extra weight, have more fat. It's a protective mechanism, and have more protein. This is where the protein becomes really important, because you can start, all those amino acids are super helpful for building your baby's brain. But it's not a time to try to be, the perfect size or fit into your skinny jeans. It's a time your body has a completely different purpose now. Okay, hope that helped.
Okay, we do have a new one populating
Okay.
sometime soon from Yellow-Eyed Cat.
Okay.
Hi, first time for me. I'm 61 and just trying to get healthy. I did your 36 and 72 hour fast recently.
Okay.
Felt great.
Okay.
I'm accustomed to 16 to 18, but trying to lose 40 pounds. And just keep on the same path. What should she sort of follow? 61, trying to lose 40 pounds. And she's done some of the fast, but she didn't say anything about a fasting lifestyle.
Okay, so she's 61 and she's not losing weight doing 14 to 16 hours of fasting.
She didn't say that. She just said that she felt great. But
here we go. Here it is.
40 weight,
okay.
40 pounds.
Yeah, I'm 61. I did 36 to 72. I felt great. Okay, so here's what I would do. This is what I would do. I mean, it might not be what you want to do, but I would try to lean into more 36-hour and 3-day water fasts. Remember that those are like little micro moments. I'm not saying doing them all the time. Like, do a 36-hour fast in a couple of weeks, and then do a 3-day water fast at another time, maybe a couple months later, and push some of those longer fasts to see if that will help you drop the extra weight. The other thing, and I don't know the page, but this question has come up so many times around what do we do when we can't lose that extra weight. And so in Eat Like a Girl, I created a weight loss checklist. I don't know where it is. Maybe my team can figure it out, but there is a checklist in here. And if you abide by the checklist, you will find something in there that is potentially going to unstick weight. So make sure you check that checklist out, but I would go into the longer fast. Okay.
Okay. I'm pulling up the next one.
Yeah, I'm about like 2 minutes behind on here.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a really long question, so I'm trying to do one that you could understand.
We're waiting for the question. We're having a technical difficulty, so I'm going to go ahead in and look at some of these.
Here we go. This is a really standard one.
Okay.
From Olga. Can you talk about how to lower high cholesterol levels?
Okay, cholesterol. So the question is, how do you...
Cortisol.
Cholesterol.
Sorry, cortisol.
Okay, cortisol.
Cortisol. Different.
Okay. Okay, our normal system is throwing me off a little bit now. So cortisol, how do you get rid of cortisol? Okay, we're going to create a checklist right here. Are you ready? Because I know a ton of you love cortisol videos. So how do you get your cortisol to come down? Okay, first is you need to understand with every hormone and every neurotransmitter, you really need to understand the environment in which it likes to operate in. So I did this in Fast Like a Girl and Eat Like a Girl. I showed you, like, here's what estrogen wants. It wants lower carbohydrates. It can handle cortisol as no problem, but progesterone wants more carbohydrates, and it doesn't like stress. So we have to remember that each hormone and neurotransmitter, cortisol is a hormone, has rules that it likes to play by. And here are cortisol's rules. Number one, use me in the morning. I like to make my appearance about an hour to an hour and a half after you wake up. please use me, because cortisol is the hormone that is meant to make us move. It came in when we were back in the primal days and we were running from a tiger. Our brilliant bodies made all this cortisol so that it could get you motivated to go move and get away from the tiger so you don't get eaten. And so, let's also go back to the grandmother hypothesis, which I laid out in Age Like a Girl. Let's go back to that idea that every morning the grandmothers gathered at the crack of dawn and went walking for 7 hours, and so that they could go find food and bring it back. So built into our biology is movement in the morning. And so the first thing in this checklist needs to be, can you actually do most of your movement? I'm not talking about working out, go for a walk, whatever. Use cortisol an hour to an hour and a half after you wake up. Okay, going along that same line, cortisol spikes when we get any kind of perceived stress. I'm not going to lie, one of my concerns right now for everybody in the world is that, and especially here in America, is all we have to do is pick up our phones and cortisol is spiking. So whenever you feel a rush of cortisol, whenever you feel that stress response, move your body. If you don't move it, you will store it. So we've got to keep moving your body. Those are really important when cortisol is present. Okay, the other piece of this is that you can lean in to things, herbs, like there are some really interesting herbs that have scientifically proven to lower cortisol. And I did a whole video on them. And one of them is ashwagandha. And I started at night keeping a jar of ashwagandha tablets right next to my bed. And if I go into bed and I'm like, I've had a stressful day, I need to make sure I lower my cortisol to go to sleep, I take a couple ashwagandha tablets. So I did a whole video showing you the science on that. I'm sure my team will put a link in here so that you can see it. So that's an incredible herb. Another interesting thing about cortisol is that it can easily be tamed by oxytocin. So I was sharing this with my Reset Academy recently. Many of you know I was living in the neighborhood where the LA fires were. And we've just came up on the year anniversary. And it was a very traumatic experience for me. I had to evacuate 3 times and it was a lot. And so last 2 weeks ago, I found myself flying back to LA. And as I was starting to land, I could feel a panic attack come on. And I was like, what is going on? This doesn't make sense. Like, it was a year ago. I know I'm safe. But remember, the body is always keeping the score. So even if my brain knew that the fire was over, my body still was like, hey, it's January. I even talked to some nervous system experts that were like, yeah, your eyes can perceive the light. Every point of the year has a different way in which the sun comes in. Like, all of that matters, and it can trigger it for you. So what I did in that moment is I realized that I was starting to go into a body response from a trauma. And I'm sitting on a plane and I'm thinking, what do I need right now? Because cortisol is surging. And the first thing I thought was, well, I need oxytocin. But I'm like sitting next to a stranger. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, go over and like touch the stranger. I'm like, that might not bode so well for me. So I did havening, and I just talked to myself, and I just rubbed. This is a technique called havening. It's a way to calm your nervous system down. It's a way to get your cortisol levels down. And I just talked to myself and said, it's over. That was a year ago. You're safe. And I just continually talked to myself. And it was a really powerful technique. So what I did in that moment is I made my body make oxytocin. Oxytocin calms the flames of cortisol. And you can get oxytocin by calling a friend. You can get oxytocin by reading a really good book. You can get oxytocin by petting your dog. And you can get oxytocin by havening and hugging yourself. And so I knew in that moment that I needed a tool that was quick and easy, and that was really helpful. The other one that a lot of people know who have maybe done EMDR is that you can just do right foot, left foot tapping. And like sometimes if I've been in, like if I'm even on a podcast, I'm feeling really stressed and cortisol's high, I literally will take my feet and I'll just alternate them. Nobody can see my feet. I'm just alternating them. Or I take my hand and I alternate it, right thigh, left thigh. And what you're doing is you're telling your brain that you are moving away from the stressor, and that will start to lower cortisol as well. So hopefully that helps. But it's, I think a better part of the question is why is cortisol so high? And how do we make sure that we don't keep putting ourselves in elevated cortisol situations, which also might mean putting your phone down. Sorry. Okay.
It's working now.
It's working again. Okay. February 17th, fasting month Ramadan is starting. Let's do it together.
You want to talk about, just a lot of people are talking about Ramadan. You want to talk about all the science?
Yeah. So everybody's talking about Ramadan. So it starts February 17th. So, okay, first off, I just want to say that when I was first studying all the literature on fasting, which is like hours and hours and hours, the best studies I ever found were from people who practice Ramadan. I was like, so helpful. We have so much research that has come from all of you fasting during Ramadan. So thank you for that. I can tell you that the study that I quote all the time about the 36-hour fast, that was actually based off of Ramadan, where they were like, well, if we can see, like BDNF is a big one that we've seen from people who practice Ramadan, that regular fasting every single day for 30 days can actually make BDNF in the brain, which is incredible. And then another study looked at that and said, well, what if we do something else for 30 days? What if we do 36-hour fasts? Followed by 12-hour eating periods for 30 days, what will we find? And that's where I found the research on waist circumference and metabolic health improving when you go into these 36-hour fasts. I call it the fat burner reset, and I put it in Fast Like a Girl. So thank you. And yes, let's gather. And those of you that are practicing Ramadan, I encourage you, if you practice Ramadan, put it in here and maybe you all can get together. I would also advise you that we have a Facebook group called the Resetter Collaborative, where we have about 150,000 people in there that are all fasting together. We get hundreds of comments and posts a day in there, and it's free. This would be a great place for all of you practicing Ramadan to go in and connect. So please know that that's a resource. Okay, great.
It does take a moment.
Okay, it takes a moment. Okay, that's okay. I can.
You can see some of the comments.
Yeah. I want some. Okay, so somebody said meditations, visualizations, and EFT tapping are helpful for creating oxytocin. Yeah, that I think that's like, you want to just have an arsenal of possible techniques. Like when I was on the plane, I didn't have a lot of techniques. And so literally and I was flying into LA that didn't have a lot of nature. I just found havening to be really comforting. So, I really like, with all kinds of things, dope with all these neurotransmitters, this is why I wanted to create a checklist, because I love checklists. In Age Like a Girl, I created a list of, if you're experiencing this symptom, this is the neurotransmitter that might be in jeopardy, and here are your lifestyle tools. I keep thinking, you all let me know if this would be helpful. I feel like I should do this for every hormone and every single neurotransmitter that affects us, because what I feel like we're forgetting is that where we put ourselves in the different environments that we put ourselves will actually stimulate these neurochemicals. So if you want oxytocin, try EFT, try meditation. These are, and I saw somebody put something about walking in nature. We don't give those activities enough credit, and they're creating a neurochemical response in you, and they're free. So if you go for a walk, remind yourself, I'm calming cortisol because I'm going right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. If you go for a walk with your best friend, I'm making sure I bring oxytocin in it so I can talk to my best friend. If I'm going to go into nature, I want to make sure that I get a little added oxytocin from the sound of nature. I'm getting microbes from trees, depending on what kind of nature situation you're in. Every single environment we put ourselves in has a neurochemical experience. So if you're not enjoying the neurochemical experience that's going on inside you right now, then how about we start to look at putting you in other environments so that you can start to actually change your neurochemical system. And that's why I put Estrogen's Girl Gang in there. So you can find that chart in there. Okay. So let's see. Jennifer received an infrared sauna for Christmas. Congrats. Post-menopausal, 90 pounds down and 60 pounds to go. Congrats. What's the best way to use the sauna with fasting for health and weight loss? Infrared. Okay. So here's what's really cool about infrared. So infrared is going to heat the cell up from the inside out. Finish sauna is just raising your blood temperature. Let me know if you guys are into knowing saunas, if you want to know the difference between saunas, because I can do a video on that. I just don't know if everybody has access to a sauna. So I try to do videos on things you all have access to. But there is a difference between Finish and infrared. So with infrared, the stress is a little less. With Finish, the stress is pretty high. So a lot of times people will get into a Finish sauna and they can just feel their heart pounding all the time. And that's because as your temperature goes up and you're sweating, your cortisol is going up. Those kind of saunas I don't recommend while you're fasting. But an infrared is parasympathetic producing. So it acts like an infrared sauna acts like a fever, where it heats the inside of the cell up so that it can push out bacteria, it can kill off viruses, and it can start to change the inner working of the cell through intercellular heat, which is really cool. So when I realized that it acts like a fever, then I started to play by those rules. If you are fasting, we have an infrared sauna. I like doing it when I'm in a 3-day water fast. I'll do it every day at the end of the day to relax me because ketones can be energizing. I have recommended to patients to use infrared saunas to prime the parasympathetic nervous system because it is a very relaxing type of heat. So whenever you feel like you've clicked over into a sympathetic stressed state, you might look at, okay, hey, I'm going to go and get in my infrared sauna. I just got a new infrared sauna to put. I have a upstairs near my bedroom because I was thinking, well, if I want to go into a relaxed state before bed, really the infrared sauna is a phenomenal way to kind of get your body to wind down and calm and then go into a sleep state. And remember, sleeping is detoxing, sleeping is healing. So for me, I like it at the end of the day. I would do it with the longer fasts. And we need to think of it, again, as a fever. It's burning out. And you can do it when you've been exposed to viruses and bacteria. You can do it when you've overeaten and you have overtoxified yourself. You can do it to prime your parasympathetic nervous system. So those are some options. Okay.
So this is the question that I put up just before you read that. So you haven't answered this one yet.
Oh. Okay, I see.
Oh, wait, no, you did. Sorry, this is the same one.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
I
thought I had put the new one up. Here it is.
No. Okay.
It's going to come in there in a moment.
Oh, I love reading some of these. Thank you. Somebody got rid of their menstrual pain they had for over 7 years. Yeah. Menstrual pain is not normal, by the way. It means your body was in an abnormal state. So thank you about that. And then, yeah, some people are saying a sauna would be helpful. There was somebody said they bought the new cookbook and they're going to read it front to back. Thank you. The front matter is really I poured my heart into it. And what was really interesting about Eat Like a Girl is that I had enough feedback from the world on Fast Like a Girl, like things that people needed to know that I didn't put in that book. So I put them in Eat Like a Girl. So those two just click together and they go hand in hand. So, Okay, Dr. Mindy, I'm very small framed, 100 pounds, super healthy, resistant train twice a week and walk other days. What kind of fasting is good for me? I'm 51. Okay, so I'm assuming, Kim, you're not trying to lose any weight. Here's what I'm going to say. Super healthy. Okay, cool. So I personally love weekly 5-1-1. 5 days a week, do a comfortable fast for yourself. 1 day a week, stretch your fast, and then 1 day a week, don't fast. That was like a maintenance protocol that we used in my clinic all the time when people finally hit their like level of optimal health. So I really think that could be an easy way to go. And then I do like once to twice a year, a 3-day water fast for everybody, because that really gets rid of all of the zombie cells and potential cancer cells and dysfunctional cells. We like to do them as a community in January and September. So I think that's great. Once a quarter, I really like you stretching your fast to 36 or 48. Just experiment with that. So if you're 51 and postmenopausal, I would do the 5-1-1 with once a quarter stretching the one day to 36 hours or 48 hours. And then twice a year, I would do a 3-day water fast. And I don't know if you're looking to not lose weight, just make sure when you eat, you're eating a lot of protein, and that will definitely help you.
Okay, new question. I'm not sure if she did the 15-day reset in one of the books or with us in the academy.
Okay.
Question.
64, post-meno, did 3-day water fast, 15-day, okay. Lost 11 pounds, awesome. Still 30 to go. Is it possible that I'm losing stored glucose so that my blood is, yeah. Okay, so Sherry Lynn wants to know if, is she flooding her system with glucose because her readings are a little bit high? When you, and what I want to talk about on this that I don't talk about enough is what happens when we're fasting and we break down fat. When you break down fat, remember all that excess has got to go somewhere. So what's going to happen is the excess is going to go, towards, like, sometimes you remember the keto flu when everybody started getting symptoms from the keto flu. So much of that was because they were detoxing and they would get rashes or a fever because as they broke down fat, all those toxins got released into the system. If you are losing large amounts of weight with fasting, I would really encourage you to take some activated charcoal so that you can bind to anything, to some of those toxins. So just a side note. As far as your blood sugar being high, I think it's very possible that stored sugar is being released. I would add another little thing for you to do in here, and that would be to move your body. Like, you don't need to work out in big amounts, but try just walking your body and moving it, especially when you get those high readings, and see if the glucose comes down. Because a lot of times your body just, with glucose, it just wants you to use it. So you can use it by moving your body. Now, the other way you can use glucose, which is really fascinating, and we don't talk about this one enough either, is by brain. So doing a really big brain activity will send that glucose up into the brain so that the brain will use that for energy. So you might take on a crossword puzzle. You might know that you have a big day of work. I will tell you something really fascinating that, again, we don't talk about enough here. Every time I've written one of my books, I've lost weight, and I'm not even trying to lose weight. And it's not because, and I'm not working out. I don't work out as much because I'm usually, especially as we get closer to the end of getting the manuscript in. And so I've often wondered why that is. And I realize because I'm writing straight through 8 to 10 hours a day and researching, there's so much brain energy going on that all the glucose that I might have used for walking or hiking or surfing or going to the gym or yoga, I'm sitting down and I'm just powering my thoughts, that actually your brain will use that glucose. So just an interesting side note that I think is fun. Okay.
I got a new one populating here in a moment from Yvette Roderick.
Yeah, maybe you need to write a book, Lori Bowen. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Just anything that challenges your brain, because it has to challenge it. So, okay, Yvette. Hello, I'm 60 and weight was 175. Have been doing 8 to 17 and 8-24 fast. My weight loss stalled. I just did a 48-hour fast and lost 7 pounds. Yay! Yes. Okay, everybody, look at what Yvette did. She did exactly what I've been teaching you, which is she started off doing fasts, got some results, and then it stalled. So she threw a longer fast at it. It's almost like you're saying to the body, like, knock, knock, like you still got some stored glucose in there. I'm just going to go a little bit longer without food so you remember where you stored the glucose before. It's literally, that's what you're doing. So can you do a 40-hour fast every week? Let's do this. Let me give you the pros and let me give you the cons so that you can start to make a decision for yourself. I have seen people do longer fasts really well. 48 hours. I told you I've had several patients I've coached through weekly 3-day water fasts that had very severe diagnoses. We watched their numbers for 3 days. We did regular blood work, and it was profound, and the patients healed. So those kind of fasts can be really powerful. If you did it, we're going back into the pro. If you did it for 48 hours every week for 4 weeks, I would say about 4 weeks would be where I would stop. And then maybe you take a month off and you go back to your normal fasting routine. And then if you need to go back into it, you would do 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. The second thing that I would do if I was doing 48-hour fasts every week is I would be mega dosing on minerals. So I would be doing beam minerals. I'd be doing element T. Like, make sure you're keeping your minerals up because you will start to deplete those mineral sources. The con. Remember, if you fast too long for too much time, you can get stalled again and you can actually start to gain weight. So that's why I want you to do 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off, so that the body doesn't plateau. Okay, second con. When you eat, I want to make sure you're getting 1,200 calories per day to fuel your thyroid. If you go into these longer fasts and when you eat, you're not refueling for enough calories, then your thyroid will tank and you will have all kinds of problems. Every cell in the body has a receptor site for T3, the bioactive thyroid hormone, and it could lead to all kinds of problems: depression, weight gain, insomnia. So I just want to make sure when you're eating that you're eating enough. This wouldn't be a scenario of, oh, I don't eat on Monday and Tuesday, and then I eat 900 calories a day the rest of the time. That's not what we're talking about here. So make sure that when you're eating, you're eating. The other thing I would, in the con, is I would keep a real clear eye out for some alarming symptoms. One would be hair loss. That tells me you're just not getting enough minerals. Your body's going into a catabolic state where it's breaking down and letting go of hair. So I would just really be sensitive to that. And I would also look for heart palpitations when the heart starts racing, because that could tell you that the adrenals are just totally maxed out, and I would stop the fast if you're doing it that long. So, and if you need somebody supporting you, please know that we have Fast Like a Girl certified coaches who can guide you through that. I think my last con that I'm worried about is you doing that much fasting on your own. And we have coaches all over the world that can help you. Just go to my webpage, drmindypelz.com, and there's a flag coaches directory there. And I think it's really wise when we go into these longer fasts to just have somebody standing beside you, just having somebody that you're bouncing ideas off so that you stay in the safe zone. Okay, those are my thoughts on that.
Did you see it yet?
Nope, not yet.
So Lyme question.
I see Lyme here on the side. Well, let me go into Lyme while
Just
I'm.
the Lyme one.
Well, yeah, I see that. Okay, let's talk about Lyme. So Lyme's a tough one. I'm not going to lie, and it's autoimmune. So one of the major things about autoimmune is that you need to make sure you keep a well-balanced gut. And one of the ways, and this goes actually for any of you that have autoimmune challenges, I want you to hear me through on this. And then always, we should probably just say, you should always check this with your doctor. I'm just delivering information to you through YouTube, but I don't know your clinical health history. Your doctor does. So let's make sure we're always, I probably should have said that in the beginning. So we've got Lyme is autoimmune. The immune system is mixed up. Lyme is an infection. It's viral. So we've got a viral load that we've got to deal with. Unlike Hashimoto's or rheumatoid or lupus, those have a toxic load to deal with. So we're really thinking through the immune system. I've had many Lyme patients before that I've coached and worked with. And I will tell you that one of the greatest ways to regulate your nervous or your immune system is through what I call carnivore fasting. I don't know, Crystal, if you're a vegan, but I'm going to, just for people here who have autoimmune conditions, I just want to talk about carnivore fasting for a moment. So what it is you go 17 hours without eating anything. That way you're stimulating autophagy. Then when you open up your eating window, you're actually putting yourself in the opposite state of autophagy. You're putting yourself into a state of what is called mTOR. mTOR is growth. Autophagy is breakdown. So when we open up your eating window after 17 hours, you are only eating meat. You can, some people allow eggs. There's so many interesting ways to do carnivore diet. The carnivore cookbook was one I used to by Maria Emmerich. I gave to all of my patients. And so I highly recommend it if you're looking for recipes and guides on how to do the carnivore diet. But here's why it's important for autoimmune conditions is when we are combining carnivore with fasting, it triggers something called your T regulatory cells. And the T regulatory cells are the cells that balance your immune system. So, and it's the only way to stimulate them is through this carnivore diet. And then you pair that with fasting, and then you're getting that autophagy mixed with the immune system regulation. So that's the first trick. And I had a woman on carnivore fasting for months and months and months. She felt so good on it that she had Lyme. She felt so good on it, she didn't want to get off of it. It was the only thing that made her feel good. She had a bunch of skin lesions that were also challenging. I had another woman who had severe anxiety and SIBO. Turned out she also had Lyme plus mold, because a lot of times we get all these things together. And I put her on carnivore fasting, and same thing, put these people on these diets, and they just don't want to get off of it because it's the thing that makes them feel good. So as crazy as it sounds, I highly recommend it. Okay, second thing that I would encourage you to look into is called EBOO, EBOO. And the place you can go find it that I feel good about is called Next Health. And I actually don't know if you're in the US, but EBOO is extracellular blood oxygenation ozone. Like, it's a really big word. So it's just EBOO. It's much more fun to call it EBOO. And it will start to clear the Lyme from your system. So if you are balancing your system using carnivore fasting and you're clearing it using EBOO, you've now really given your body a chance to recover from Lyme. So those two techniques I've found work beautifully. Hope that helps. And those two, by the way, work for mold. They work for any autoimmune condition. Hashimoto's, I've done, those are like my two go-tos that work like a charm. Okay.
Be populating in a moment here.
Okay, I have a red light sauna, but also hot tub. Is it too much? Yeah, hot tubs, by the way, For starters, make sure you're not sitting in hot chlorine. Can you get a saltwater one? Because chlorine is really damaging. It's also, there's no therapeutic benefit other than it's relaxing. I think it could be too much heat. So you have to see if your heart gets racing. I suffer from PTSD and I can't sleep. I bought a grounding mat, but wake up exhausted. Yeah, I hear you. So yeah, I think that the first thing I would say is pick one, and maybe you alternate sauna one night, hot tub the next night. I think it would be too much to do them both together. It's just it's a lot of heating up of the body, and it might put the body in more of a trauma state. I did a really interesting video here on YouTube where I talked about this research behind yoga and sleep. So I don't know if my team can find that, or you can just search it on the search bar on the YouTube channel. But there's some really interesting evidence that doing a couple of rounds of sun salutations before you go to bed starts to calm the nervous system. And with a PTSD situation, that's exactly what you want to do, is get the nervous system calm so it can go into bed and it can sleep. Okay, other possibilities that I want to give you. Go back to ashwagandha. Try taking some ashwagandha before you go to bed so it brings cortisol down. Other tricks that I have been finding that works really well is creatine before bed, high doses. We know that 25 to 30 grams of creatine is really powerful for the brain for jet lag. And so I experimented with those high doses for sleep, and it's really, really potent. So you can play with some creatine as well and see how that works. Box breathing when you get into bed is a phenomenal, or any kind of breathing technique so your brain stops running itself, can be really good. And then the last thing I will say is, remember, there is so much evidence on nature and water specifically healing PTSD situations. And I too last year was diagnosed with acute PTSD, and the only thing that seemed to calm me and give me a good night's sleep was a walk in nature before bed. A little bit harder to do now that we are, if the days are shorter. I don't know if you're in Australia or on the other hemisphere, but you might look at like putting on ocean noise or bird noise, or I've talked about here on YouTube, you can put on your TV screen a river going down just the hours leading up before you go to bed. Red light's another great thing, like keeping your red light in the room you're sleeping, bringing the temperature down. Like there's a lot you can do, but the more your stress is, the more you're going to want to pull out a whole bunch of tools. So hope that helps. Okay. What would be the best fasting protocol for a 64-year-old man that has cataracts forming? He has a horrible diet, loves eating quick carbs, eye roll, but he may be open to changes now. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I'll answer you here in a second, Mo. I just find it so fascinating how hard it is for people to make diet changes, so much so that they're willing to lose their eyesight for it. I was telling my academy members recently that I worked with a lot of cancer patients for a long time. For a while, they were my favorite patients because they were the most motivated, because their life depended upon it. And anything I gave them, they did immediately because their life depended upon it. So I think that's really interesting that his motivation might be changing. Well, I don't know how he's fasting now, but I would at least, actually, let's go back one step. Remember, what he needs is momentum. So he has no motivation right now, but he needs momentum. So if we can start him at the lower fasts, like 13 to 15 hours, and see how he feels, I think that would be really important. The other thing that I find is a lot of times, instead of taking away something out of his diet, how about we add something in? And he could add in more protein. He can add in more oils, olive oil on things, add in more fiber. So maybe have him add in healthier food as opposed to taking some of the other more toxic food away. And to answer your question about cataracts, yes, What's really interesting is that the eye has the most amount of mitochondria in it. And so when we are looking at how do we fuel those mitochondria so they'll heal, we look to the ketone again. The ketone will stimulate mitochondrial energy, which upregulates glutathione, which is the master antioxidant of repair. The mitochondria also make ATP, which is energy. So when we get ketones, they will go into those eyes and they will stimulate that. And that can be really, really helpful. So it won't be immediate. This would be a long-term situation, but definitely one to look into. Another really interesting one I'm going to throw out to you that I used to do with my patients is we got really curious about all the places we could use castor oil. And one of the places that people who had eye problems, so I even had patients using it for eyelashes and eyebrows, is we would take a sleep mask and put a little bit of castor oil on it and then have them put it on at night. And the idea is castor oil will slowly seep in. It's completely natural and healthy. And it will start to help mobilize toxins out of the eyes. Macular degeneration is and cataracts both have a component to it that's too much insulin and can also be too much toxicity. So and then I would have them take 2 activated charcoal at night, and that can be a really interesting thing. So there you go. There's an extensive answer for you. Okay.
Should have a new one populating here in a moment. Chat's still pretty active.
Okay. I'm waiting for the next question. Oh, here we go. I removed one of my thyroid glands 3 years ago. My one thyroid gland is functioning well, no medication. She does 30-hour fasts affecting my thyroid. Oh, does 30-hour fast. Yeah, I think, I don't know how often you're doing the 30-hour fasts, but you know, it's interesting. I just did a video. I don't know when it'll come out. It'll come out, the one I did yesterday on intermittent fasting for thyroid.
10 days.
It'll come out in the next 10 days. So keep an eye on it. It was a new study showing intermittent fasting can really help thyroid problems, which is fascinating, right? Because so many people are like, no fasting for thyroid. And this new study is showing that it actually increases T3. And it's like a preserving mechanism that the body does. So we know it can help. 30 hours, what I would make sure I would do is I would make sure that I'm eating lots of food before I go into that 30-hour fast. And I'm thinking that we'll eat lots of food when you get out. The problem where people get messed up with fasting and the thyroid is they love how they feel energy-wise. They love that they dropped weight. They love that their mood lifted because of all those ketones. And so they forget to eat, and eventually it boomerangs on them and they get too much. So if you're going to start doing regular 30-hour fasts, really make sure you're eating on the other days. Okay. One more.
Okay. Last one.
Okay. We're waiting for the last one. The other thing I'll tell you all, since you're here, I'm putting out a lot of new videos, so please keep your eye on that. I have a lot of new science that we're diving into, and I'm starting a Substack. So I'm getting it all set up. It's free right now. We're going to move into the subscription model here this weekend, and there's a lot we can do together in the subscription model. So if you're a Substack user, please go over there and check me out, because what I want to do over there is try to have more intimate conversations with you, where we can all learn how to critically think through health together. So I'm just excited about it. Okay. Kathy says, I'm 71, really healthy, lost 56 pounds 6 years ago on keto. Thank you. Here's my postmenopausal woman in action. Yep. But then I had emergency gallbladder removal, and it's been hard for me to lose the rest of my weight. Okay, so let's give you a couple interesting thoughts. So gallbladder, if it has to be removed, the interesting thing about the gallbladder is that it is the storage for toxins. So it often has to be removed because there was a high toxic load. Whenever we remove an organ, they don't completely take all of the tissue out. So a lot of times what can happen is that little parts of the tissue stay in, and you actually start get some regrowth. We've seen this with hysterectomies. I saw this clinically with thyroids that have been removed. We teach somebody how to fast, and those tissues that were remnants there start to multiply. It's the coolest thing. So, but what I want to do is give you some advice on weight loss, and I want to give you some advice on the gallbladder. One of the things I have seen, and this was actually a very key employee in my life who started to learn fasting with me when I was learning it all. She didn't have a gallbladder. And so we got her ox bile salts, because ox bile salts will help you break down, it'll help with sludge that's going on in the common bile duct. It helps support the liver. It can help to create a little bit of bile that is inside, again, the common bile duct. It'll be secreted in there. So try ox bile salts. That would be the first one. Did you say you might? I really love, I'll tell you, all of you that are stuck losing weight, I really love throwing a 36-hour fast at it to see if it unsticks you, because then you know you just need to fast longer. So I would say go to a 36-hour fast. The other thing is I would do a castor oil pack right over your liver, so that we can start to open up that area, because this is a congestive point. So we have a lot that gets stuck in here, and your liver makes cholesterol, your liver burns fat, your gallbladder stored toxins, your common bile duct got rid of those toxins. So this little area is so powerful for weight loss. So castor oil pack, opening that all up can be really helpful. Coffee enema could be really helpful, but we need to look at the system there to be able to rehab that, which is why I like the ox bile salts. I love the castor oil packs for you, and doing some longer fasts. So hopefully that helps. And again, if you all need more nuance to the answer of these questions, I have a membership group with a team of coaches. It's called the Reset Academy. You can come join us over there. We're answering as a team questions all the time over there.
I think we have
and
a
so
call, like, every other day.
we have calls every other day. We work out together. It's really cool community. So if you're not getting what you need here, and you're needing more community and more help, please come over there. So, okay. I think that's what I got for you all today. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for caring about your health. And here's what I'm going to say. I know we're a worldwide community, but what the world needs right now is a lot of love and compassion. So start smiling at strangers. Start thinking kind things about people. Anger shuts down your immune system very, very quickly. Hostility, not forgiving, all of those things have a health consequence. And I think one of the greatest things we can do on the planet right now is to really start to love one another, even if we disagree with one another. So I just really encourage you to find kindness and to spread kindness and to keep smiling at people, keep caring about humans. It's never been more critical than right now.
Someone said kindness is contagious.
Yeah, kindness is contagious. So, okay. Lots of love. See you all next week.